We're back. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. And Toby, you talk about building a plan for income and cash flow. And you talked a little bit about that before, but that's something that a lot of financial advisors don't do. When I ask people, hey, bring me your list of expenses and let's map out your income in retirement 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. What tips do you have for somebody who's, looking to do income planning? What's a simple tip? Are there softwares you like, or do you just tell them, hey, write a list of all your income, all your expenses?
Yeah, I built a calculator for it, which does exactly that. I don't know if there is a website, infinityinvesting.com, that has a free calculator, by the way, but like most everything I do is free. Right. Again, we try to make sure that people don't face plants so that they become really good clients. But the calculator takes your income and your expenses and figures out what your spread is. So what you're able to invest. And then you write it like I just say you get in the habit of writing it like it's a bill. So, for example, if I was working with somebody, I might say, have a separate account that's your investment account and have the money get transferred over there just like you're paying yourself. If I was going to give a millennial advice, I would say you're going to use the 70-30 rule. You're going to live off of 70% of your take-home pay. And the other 30%, 10% of it, you've got to give it away. You got to do charitable good. If you hate charity, then just dump it into the next category, which is you're going to pay down debt. Take 10% and pay off any existing debt you have until it's gone. And then the other 10% put into investments. And if you don't have any debt, you don't feel like giving money away, put 30% a month into investments and get used to living off of the 70%. And just get used to doing that. Like we get really used to paying our cell phone bills. We get really used to paying our cable bills and our rents and everything else. And we never seem to pay ourselves for our future in our investments. And you just treat it like it's a bill, like anything else, and anybody can do it. I've seen folks that literally had no money start up and get to infinity within 2 and 3 years because they either live off of very little, so they don't need a ton of cash flow, or they get really good at focusing in on the cash flow assets. And it's almost addictive. Once you start realizing that I could have a perpetual income stream. So for $50,000, I might be able to get a $500 a month perpetual income stream. Like maybe I find the right type of property. And yes, they exist. I don't think I'm crazy, but I own hundreds of those. It's just, you're not going to buy it in your backyard. You're probably going to be looking at Middle America and some of those places. But there's investments like that where instead of focusing on what's the price or how much is it worth, you just look and say how much it's generating. And I had this really interesting experience when I lived in Seattle. I had a neighbor who was actually a coach for the Red Sox, and he had been a professional baseball player. Super nice guy. And he talked about the financial planner that he worked with. He actually transitioned over and became a Merrill Lynch guy. And he was talking about one of these financial planners, and he tells the players, don't look at your statements. And I kind of was shocked. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, don't look at the value of your account. Look at what it's generating. And so this particular planner was training the athletes, how much cash could we create on a cash flow basis and quit staring at the value of your account. Because if it goes way up, you're going to be tempted to sell. If it goes down, you're going to be depressed. Look at what it's generating and focus on that number instead. And so, I always kind of took that with me and thought it was shocking enough to sit there, and it made an impression on me. And here, 20 years later, I'm looking back on it going, that was actually pretty wise. That hit the nail on the head. Is if you're building an income stream, who cares whether it's $1 million generating $100,000 a year or $10 million generating $100,000 a year? I can live off the $100,000 a year regardless.
Fantastic. We're with Toby Mathis, author of Infinity Investing, his new book. And he talks about if you're just starting out, first focus on the first 50 grand. So we might have people listening, they don't even have 50 grand saved. What do those people do today to start building that first 50 grand? I like that actually, because you say, well, what's the first 50 grand? What's the next 50 grand? Because I actually found that for me, the first hurdle was for some reason 27 grand. I was like 22, 23 maybe, and I got out of debt. I had about 60,000 of debt, got out of debt, and then I focused on getting the first 27 grand. I don't know why I remember that number. And then from 27, I went to 100. And it's sort of like very similar to your 50 and then 100. Mm-hmm. So somebody's listening, they don't have a lot saved. How do they get that first 50 grand saved up? Obviously, the 70-30 rule, living on less, learning how to save 30%, live on the rest is a great tip. And giving 10%. I would say giving 10% is the hallmark of, do I want to do business with someone? What do I mean? There's a lot of pretenders in life. And there are people now who are financial celebrities, and then they go bankrupt in a year or two. And you wonder, well, how could you spot those people? Well, how did they behave? How did they treat their family? How did they treat their charities? Did they do it? So I actually think that the tip about giving is, not only is it, I follow the Bible, so it's biblical, it also is true, like, for humanity. I mean, if you look at Oprah, when she had her billions, she gave all these people cars and stuff. There's been books on, the millionaire maker, the millionaire mindset. And what was interesting, I think the guy's name was Herb Allen or Robert, I forget the guy's name. I remember the last guy's name was Allen. And he said, of all the millionaires he surveyed, something like 90-something% tithed in some shape or form. So that's really good. So we're going to talk about that because we're already at our last break of the hour. So we're going to talk about giving, and we'll talk about how to accumulate your first 50 grand. When we return, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial. We're back. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, with Toby Mathis. So Toby, talk a little bit about giving and how to accumulate that first 50%.
I think that one of the reasons that you see so many millionaires or tithers is because so much about building wealth is about habitual behavior. And if you've been tithing your whole life, you're already used to a habitual, hey, it's not mine, I'm paying it off. A lot of us have habitual behaviors that aren't so positive. But if you learn how to save habitually, then you'll be fine. And so I say 10% giving it away. Some people hate that. Like, again, I usually get pushback on people saying, well, that's a religious thing, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, no, just trust me on this, that you reap what you sow in this world. But if that's really, if you really hate it, at least attack your debt with it. Right? So I always try to give them an out. But
no, I wouldn't give them an out. Here's why. We often see, well, what happened to that guy? Like you hear from these people, whatever, from Madoff, who just passed away in the last month, to others, like, what was the intent of the charity? What was the gift? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, I think having a giving heart shows a lot in business. Interesting article here, November 9th, 2012. They surveyed all of the millionaires in the country and found that all of them on average gave 9% of their income to charity. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? I would say I don't know about the chicken. I would say
it's a mindset.
The chicken of tithing produced the egg of success in some ways. Not that it always works that way, but I think it's like you said, it's habitual. And then on to, how does somebody accumulate their first 50 grand?
Yeah, it's the same way. So I just want to dovetail on what you just said, because it is actually super, super powerful. I think it comes down to mentality. if you have a scarcity mentality and you're scared of money and you think that it's impacting you as opposed to you impacting it. So if you're one of those people that's like money doesn't grow on trees person, you're going to have a hard time giving money away because you're not going to realize that you're in full control and you can earn that right back. Millionaires that figured out that they control the money and that, it's just a matter of how much time and energy do I want to put into it. So, some people are happy making $150,000 a year. Some people are happy making $50,000. It's up to you. When you have that freedom, then you could give a lot more. Same token, once you realize that you do have a certain amount of control over the money, you could choose how much you want to put aside because you could choose how you live. Like, I don't have to have 300 channels on the table, right? I could knock myself down and have an extra $50 if I'm willing to deal with 30, or just do Netflix, just get the internet, and I could save a little money. And
99% of cable's garbage anyway. So yeah.
I literally just watched the Golden Knights, like my poor wife. It's like it's news and hockey in our house, and it's like she just looks at me and goes, "Why do we have it either?" Like, no, we just got the internet, really. But but it's just getting in the habit of something. Once you start investing, once you get used to it, and it's as easy as doing a Schwab or, I don't know how you feel about Robinhood, but I liked it because, for kids, they could set up an account so quick. I say kids, but I mean young people. So you could set up an account, you could put a Roth IRA together in a heartbeat. And I say that's what you use as your savings account when you're accumulating your first bunch of, your first bit of money, as long as you're, lower, as long as you're below the income thresholds. So if you're making $50,000 a year, it's pretty easy. Set up a Roth, and that's where you put your money. You're never going to pay tax on it ever again. And you start investing it in, I would just pick the aristocrats and the kings to start. At the website we have, and you'll see it in the book, we rate about 60 companies, and we just follow them. It's free. Don't worry, I'm not selling anything. We just rate them on a 7-prong scale. And in order to be on that list, you have to have been paying increasing dividends for at least 10 years. So they're fairly safe companies. We actually pull their safety score from 2 other organizations that rate them on a scale of 1 to 100 as far as safety measures.
Fantastic. Well, Toby, we have to run. Folks, you can go to his website, tobymathis.com, TobyMathis. Toby Mathis. Get his book, Infinity Investing, for free when you schedule and keep your 45-minute strategy session with us at 888-988-JOSH, or go to tobymathis.com and buy his book. Toby, it was a lot of fun. Hope to have you on again in the future. This is Josh Jalinski, folks, the financial quarterback, and we'll be back after these messages with your calls at 800-321-0710. So if you want the book, call us today for the free review. 45-minute strategy session, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jalinski Advisory Group.
Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jalinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at www.jalinski.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jalinski and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation.
Advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.